listening to the Medic Materials Podcast, hosted by Mike Turek, Emily Yates, Kelsey Coons, and Gerard Cuomo.
Yeah, now you got me paying attention to that
EMS
Coons
providers
part.
and educators with a combined 30 years experience. Each month, we discuss EMS news, medical science, and review actual EMS calls, bringing many educational opportunities to the listener. Portions of the calls have been altered to protect the privacy and identity of all involved.
You know, I'm glad that I brought that to your attention.
We should just redo the whole thing.
I have said that for a while.
Yeah.
It's just getting everyone here to redo stuff, and because I want to redo Kelsey's for the Patreon, and
Right.
it's a process.
I understand.
It's a process,
I know.
but it is hilarious how now every little tidbit that we point out you hate,
Right.
even more. And it sounds
before
great.
It was just as a whole, and now it's just like every little. It's like, oh my god, that does suck.
Your
No,
face through the whole thing is.
I honestly don't think it sucks. No one else thinks it sucks. Only you think it sucks. I laugh when you're like, Kelsey Coons, because that's funny.
It was not intentional.
I know, which makes it more funny. But so hello and welcome, everyone. Gerard is back at the table, so we can literally make fun of him in front of our face, which is great. I can finally see the angst on your face during the intro. It's also great.
Oh yeah.
We're also joined with our favorite clinical coordinator today.
It was looking mighty fine, by the way.
She's gonna sue you one day.
I'm gonna have to take that class again.
Why? Because you're
Damn, another 4 hours gone.
Kelly of mine.
And the best intro ever.
Of course.
Ever. It really is going to be next year's theme song, I think.
No, it's his theme song. We gotta find another one.
I like it.
It's his theme song.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so good. But it only goes well if you introduce it.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
Nope.
I
Putting
don't
you on
know
the
if
spot.
I don't know if I got that in me today.
Find it.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, once again on the Medic Materials Podcast, the one, the only, the grand poobah of paramedicine, Butch, the Mahabuchi. I'm not doing the whole rock thing, though.
No? Oh,
Yes,
so he does it anyway.
What the Butch?
I'm not
is
doing it, but
cooking.
here we go.
Oh, my God. It really is. It's phenomenal. I'm telling you. I'm just going to steal it. We'll give him the show. Why not? It's Butch's show.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Look at that.
We're
You've
done
just
here.
been promoted.
Look at that.
You've just been voluntold.
Third time on the show, I'm promoted.
That's kind of how it goes.
Not
That's how the
like,
girls got seats.
not like you're getting any promotion in EMS. Hey.
Hey. Oh, that's terrible.
What, sign up for overtime? No, we're just going to give it to you. Here you go.
Yeah,
And it's not like we pay you. You might as well take the show.
right. We'll give them twice what we make.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Awesome.
right. Double plus.
Right.
Double plus. But so today's episode is going to be brought to you by the one and only Gerard. The only announcement that I have to make today is to welcome a brand new Patreon to the show, and that is our newest Patreon, Mike. So thank you very
sweet.
much for subscribing to that.
Awesome.
And I'm sure that the episode that we're going to record after this one will be up there at the end of this month. So you'll have a brand new episode within like 2 weeks of signing up. So that gives you plenty of opportunities to catch up on all of the craziness that happens on the Patreon side of things. So Gerard,
I was
going
gonna say, and I
gonna
can
turn
I
it
can
over
vouch.
to you.
I was gonna say I can vouch for the fact that the Patreon money does go for increasing the production value because we've got some cool things coming up. So.
Yeah, and like I've always said and been transparent, any dollar signs that you give to the show via a Patreon subscription goes directly back into the show. It's not like I sit there and pocket the money and go, ooh, paycheck. I
can
don't
all
do
go
that.
out for a movie.
Right. Right. That is not what it's there for.
Right. You
It
get that
is,
soda I always wanted.
and popcorn with butter.
Where there's original.
Ooh.
Pepperidge Farmer members.
But yeah, all funds from Patreon do go directly back into the production value of the show. And once this whole move things happen, with the houses, I'm hoping that we can spend a little bit of that Patreon money and really increase some viewership. I'm gonna say, because it'll be interesting with the plans that we have once the move comes, because I will finally have actual internet. It'll be amazing. It'll be absolutely amazing. I can record a video, I can edit it, and then I can upload it the same day.
You're actually going to get more than a megabyte per second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's absolutely phenomenal how in 2022 I have 500K upload internet.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So, Gerard, enough of me yakking here. What do you got for us?
All right. Well, what I got, you might want to scratch and make it go away, but
As long as it doesn't burn, we're good.
inside joke. Mr. Ghost Pepper.
What?
All right. So what I have for you today is I think it's an interesting one. I think it's one that's got a very good lesson to learn. Something we've been talking about from time to time. So it's going to be a call review. Your system is a community-based ambulance service, rescue squad, paramedic EMT crew. You have a local community access hospital. Literally, you can see it from the station. Your nearest other facilities, you have a general hospital, about 30 minutes away in one direction. You have a level 2 trauma and stroke center, about 40 to 45 minutes in the other direction.
That's always helpful.
And then there are two other general hospitals, both with other specialties. But like one's like a cardiac center, and I think the other one's another big general hospital. But anyway, you are dispatched, and I'll give you the time because it may play into how people are feeling. So it was around, I believe, 11 o'clock at night. Dispatch is for a 55-year-old male complaining of a headache. Now, here's the caveat. This is a frequent flyer. This guy calls 3 times a week, almost always for the same stuff, and he always wants to go to the critical access hospital, to which he then usually gets his sandwich, his orange juice, and then AMAs, and goes home, down the street, basically. So, but, our usual thorn in our fucking ass, right?
Yep.
So, of course, 11 o'clock at night, we get they get the call. So, patient's history is hypertension, liver dysfunction due to alcoholism.
Okay.
They know this because
they've been there.
This is their guy.
Right.
He's their thorn. Okay, crew arrives. No scene safety issues, nothing like that. What are you going to do walking into this house? What would your mindset be? So honestly,
my mindset. So I've dealt with these working inner city, right? Your frequent flyers call 3-4 times a week. You know them by name. You know their history. You know where they're going. And it does wear on you over time where you're like, oh, okay, hey, Ron, yep, same complaint. All right, let's go. Come on. So it's hard to not do that. Right. But at the same point, you also have to still look at them like every time is a new thing that could be real, Right. So I'm not going to just write them off being the type of person I am, but I can totally see a crew that would be like, all right, Ron, let's go.
Okay.
and just
Right.
fuck off.
Yeah.
Especially when the hospital is literally, 5 minutes from where you're going.
If-
It's
Right.
like,
if
just
that.
get in, let's
Right.
go.
Right. It's their problem, not mine.
Right.
I can get this done in 20 minutes.
He's going to AMA by the time before my chart is done being written.
Right.
Right.
So I can see both sides of it. Again, I'm going to go in, I'm still going to bring in my bag. I'm still, maybe I don't even open it, but it's going with me.
Okay.
And at least I'm going to have a conversation with him to see what the heck's going on.
Okay.
It might be a little short conversation, but
Right.
it's still a conversation.
You? About the same?
Yeah, the same. Frequent flyers, we all know what's going on. We all know the problems. We all know the history.
Mm.
Same thing. We all know where they're going. And
It's a rock
do
and a
what you gotta
hard
do.
place kind of situation that
Because
that they put you in.
that one time you don't do the thing you're supposed to do
Is the time they die.
Right.
is the time that you go, oh, crap. And
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So this crew, they do not bring their bags. They don't bring anything. They walk into his residence, call out his name, to which he responds, and they say, okay, let's go.
Very formal.
And they walk him out to the ambulance, at which point the EMT gets in the back and says,
We're
I'm
good here.
I'm good. Paramedic goes to the driver's seat.
So this is and this was for a headache, correct?
For a headache. Yep.
Now this is the typical call for this. As you said,
This
is
was
the
alpha
same complaint
response. Yeah, this was
all the time. It's always headache. It's not like this guy's changing it up and going, oh, I got chest pain today. Oh, I got a headache tomorrow. Oh, I'll have abdominal pain. It's always
right.
I have a headache.
The EMT that told me about this one, he actually it changes sometimes, but it's mostly headache.
Yep.
Sometimes you'll get some nausea. Oh, I'm sick to my stomach. That kind of stuff. But then he'll eat a ham sandwich and then AMA and
Right.
go home.
It's mostly benign.
Right. Nothing
stuff.
ever serious. Nothing
Yeah.
ever crazy.
So again, it's something that this crew would be aware of, and they kind of just go with the flow of, hey, let's just get this done and over with.
Right. So now I'm also going to go ahead and give you a little bit more history about the patient. And again, I mostly got this from the EMT, and he made it abundantly clear that this is not a very pleasant individual.
Okay.
And so, he gave me his history, hypertension, alcoholism, he has some liver disorder, no known allergies. So they already knew this going in, no allergies to anything. A convicted sex offender, pedophile.
Okay.
So
Shouldn't really matter.
it shouldn't, but their words were, this is, the exact words were, this is a person that the world would be better without,
Not a great attitude, but
Right.
I get it.
Right. But,
Not great.
But again, this is, the thorn in your side, the frequent, not just a frequent flyer, but a frequent flyer who just because of what they are,
Right.
you're already like, I hate this guy.
Right.
And that was, and he said, this was like our mindset, because this is what it was every time going to him.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'll continue. So EMT gets in the back, paramedic goes to the driver's seat. Paramedic calls en route to the critical access hospital. It's where they always go.
Yep.
As he's about to put it in drive, the EMT, who is a good EMT and had hooked him up and took some vital signs, then calls out, hold on a second, and then reports the following. Blood pressure, 210 on 120 with a heart rate of 99.
That's high.
That's a little high.
That's slightly high.
That's a little high. Now this guy,
bit.
this guy's med list is metoprolol, losartan, amlodipine. The trifecta,
The trifecta.
for hypertension.
Yep.
Right. So
Again, it shouldn't be that high.
and the one thing that they did say was he actually is med compliant. Shocker.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's his usual blood pressure is usually like 150 systolic, something like that is what they said. So yeah, now he's 210 on 120, which is why the EMT
Was like,
and again,
hold up.
this goes to what we've always talked about. The frequent flyers sometimes are a kind of a nice thing to have because you know what they are.
Right.
You know their baselines. So when he saw that, he said, "Hey, hold on a second.
This ain't normal.
This isn't normal."
Yeah.
So, I mean, good for him. To which the medics then said, "Check it again."
What?
Yeah, just don't squeeze it as hard this time. It'll be fine. It'll
Are
go
you
down.
Sure.
Dude, that was the one craziest thing happened to me. Just sidebar with, I say squeezing it for a reason, because I come back to, I was doing an interfacility transfer where I was taking a patient out of an ICU bed, and the patient was, again, not very stable.
Right.
And they had soft pressures, and this nurse just wanted to get this patient out of here. And the doc was like, take another set of vitals, blah, blah, before you,
Right.
And they were like super soft. They
Hunting,
were like,
hunting for the vitals they want.
right, like 60 on 30 soft, and they're still running pressors and this, that, the
A
other
little
thing.
pressure on the hose,
Well, I literally watched this nurse squeezing the arm on the pressure so it goes up to like 110, and they're like, all right, we're good to go. Let's go. And I'm just like,
Yeah, no.
I don't think that was legal.
Yeah.
But shit happens.
Right.
Like, who's to say this guy wasn't leaning a little bit too hard
Right.
on it, you
Right.
know? Like,
Especially, again, frequent flyer, what they usually are.
right.
So now he's, wow, something's different.
Something's different.
Okay, well, check it again.
Check the
So-
other arm.
Check his throat. It's fine.
So they take another blood pressure, and funny you say that.
Check his throat?
Blood pressure, no, the other one.
Oh,
Blood pressure comes back 210 at 120. Again.
okay.
Same BP.
So consistent.
Yep. To which the medic then calls back and says, "Check the other arm." I'm not joking. and verifies that they're using the right-sized cuff.
Okay.
To which the EMT then says, "Yes,
So now,
I'm not an idiot. This is the right cuff."
right. So again, we look at this medic, and is it like, are they just trying to get out of doing the work, or are they just making sure
Right.
that, like, hey, before
Right.
I
Is
get
this
back
legit?
there, is this
Yeah.
legit?
Right.
Right.
And I mean,
I get both.
The second time taking it, when it comes up exactly the same, I might be inclined to say that, okay, it's probably legit. Check the other arm. Hey, let's maybe doubly sure, or,
Right.
Or check a manual to make sure.
or check a manual, make sure it's
Yeah.
not the
a
machine.
monitor's not
Right.
Yeah.
screwed.
Do we know if it was a monitored cuff or?
Yeah, it's
It's an auto
yeah,
cuff?
it's a Life Pack 15. Yeah. So,
I mean, they are better than Zoll. So,
well, now you're gonna get all kinds of hate mail.
whatever.
I'm gonna start writing one.
The Zoll used the
I
blood
like the
pressure
Zoll.
the way I know the R wave. I'm sorry.
Yes, but if the gnat that flew into your ambulance farts, your blood pressure's gonna get completely thrown off.
Yep.
But the roads are so nice in New York State that
That is true.
There's absolutely no potholes that will affect
No potholes
any blood
whatsoever.
pressure at all.
Bars.
Because we're not salty at all.
So,
Okay,
EMT
how
checks.
many of us in the back of the ambulance have seen the pressure on a patient and go, "That's the road. Let's do that again."
Yeah.
Yep.
We've all done it.
We've all done it.
Yeah,
Let's
especially
try it again.
especially when you're getting like 18 different blood pressures, and you're
Yep.
like, okay, something's going on here, and that's usually when I'll break out the cuff and just take it myself.
Right.
Because you can hear still in the back of some of these ambulances.
Sure, you can. It's called watching the tick marks and knowing how to freaking read a damn blood pressure when there's no sound.
Yeah.
What would help?
So, other arm is taken. BP comes back 200 and 100. Medic says, "I'm coming back."
Okay.
Puts it in park.
Good move.
Goes into the back. Then performs a full assessment, full on medical assessment. Throws him on a 12 lead. Comes back, normal sinus. Just close to being attacked, but like 99, 98 for the rate sinus rhythm. Has the EMT take a BG, comes back, within normal range, like 130, 140, something like that. He then checks full neuros, to which, and let me go to my cheat sheet here. He has deficits on the right side, both arm and leg, with difficulty speaking and right eye vision change. So we're all right side,
Yep.
everything on the right side. So at this point, they're getting their treatment stuff ready. They're getting their stuff out of their bags because now this call is completely changed. This is no longer we're just going to pump and dump.
Right.
Right. Dispatch calls for a status check because now they've been there for a while after
And
they called
typically they're
en route
not.
to the hospital that's 2 minutes away.
Right.
So that's when he sends the EMT up to the front and says, "Go ahead and let them know we're going to be diverting." So EMT calls, says gets in the driver's seat, diverts, says we're changing to the they're going to go to the level 2 stroke center, 40 minutes away. Good call.
I would agree with that.
Okay, so where are we at right now as far as treatment plans go?
I'll let Butch take that. He hasn't talked much.
So it's your frequent flyer. How long has this gentleman had the headache for? Did they find that out?
Yeah, I think
How
it
long is
was.
feeling bad for this time.
Let me go back to my cheat sheet. He said it's been hurting all day.
How long has he noticed deficits, or has he noticed deficits?
I didn't get that info. My bad.
All right,
I probably should have asked that question.
Go to the stroke.
Well, when he said all day, I'm just like, okay, so now we're way outside the 4-hour window.
Right.
Yeah.
And even still, it's one of those where even if you're outside the window, I'm not one to be like, oh, well, they're outside the window, so I'll take them to a non-stroke center.
I'm taking them to a
just-
stroke
you know,
center no matter what.
it's-
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Because
you
there's-
still have to get the timeline.
Right.
Like, hey,
there's
because they're going to ask, how long has this been going on? I don't know, all day.
Yep.
That's the best I got.
Because there's other ways you could transport this patient to other places if need be, depending on timeline. Like if this was really close, you could think other ways.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
What did you do?
Get to the chopper!
Oh.
I hit the button too fast, and like I double tapped it, so it turned on and then shut off immediately. And I was like, why didn't it work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your timing's off a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Gotta get that under control.
Yeah, I'm happy what's going on so far. I mean,
At least at this point, they're taking it seriously.
yes.
Yeah.
Like they found an issue, right? Headache is notorious for high blood pressures and stroke-like symptoms. So they're at least putting pieces together.
Yep.
They did, 3 lead, 12 lead. I'm sure IV is coming afterwards. They're diverting to a better facility. I feel like that's all good.
Okay.
That's good directions.
I would agree. So after calling en route, they're heading for the trauma center, the trauma stroke center, which is 40 minutes away. IV is next, 18 gauge left AC.
I'm happy as a clam with that.
Fluid is hung KVO.
Okay.
It's tomato. I mean, some people do it just for line patency reasons and whatever.
I'm not.
I've learned my lesson.
I don't typically do that
I used
unless
to.
I need it.
Yeah, everybody knows we've already talked about this on the show. I used to,
Yeah.
and then now I've learned as I've grown up as a medic, where I know I don't have to do that. I can saline lock it, and if I need it, it's going to be okay.
It's gonna be just fine. Yeah, and it's funny. Like when I talk to a lot of providers, it seems like there's an age group that does that. Like you talk to a lot of the
And
older
that's how I was
providers, and
taught,
it's
yeah.
like, boom, they get 100 mLs on
Everybody.
everything.
And that's how
Everybody.
I was taught. Yeah.
And it's like, no. Like,
Yeah. In fact, I actually learned KVO after I became a medic because my preceptor referred to it as TKO. The even older.
Yeah.
TKO,
yeah.
To keep open.
To keep
Yep.
open.
To keep open. I
So,
remember that.
Yeah. So
Way back in the Wayback Machine.
yeah, and then someone was like, "Oh, you ran KVO?" I'm like, "Fuck is KVO?"
Right. Right. Yeah.
We're calling it TKO. Stop.
Yeah.
Showing my-
And actually, I got
showing my age
QA'd by somebody. I was like, "What's TKO?" I'm like,
Yeah.
That's what I was not."
Tyson came in and knocked him out.
Right. They're like, "No. It's
It's a legit
KVO."
thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
But,
yeah.
I mean, in this case, 99% of the time, unless it's a stroke that's somehow hypotensive, I'm not hanging anything.
Okay.
Like that's just me.
So my mindset here is knowing what I'm going to do to this patient next. I may start running a little bit of fluid in. I mean, I know he's already on, toprol,
Yep.
I know he's already on that. So maybe when we hit him, if we get the order and we hit them with ours, it may drop a little. I mean, how much they're going to drop them, we don't know. But
right, and that's the thing too. Like I was kind of keeping quiet on the treat the hypertension, but at the same point, especially in strokes, the doctor's only going to order enough to keep it around 170 systolic.
Right.
If you even get the order.
If you even get the order. So maybe you're giving one dose of 5 milligrams of low pressure and that's it.
Right.
I'm probably going to take the chance of give that, follow it with a flush, and then just let it ride and see where it goes. If now I'm at $120, well, then I might be like, okay, even at then, unless his mental status changes, I'm probably not going to give fluid after that either.
Right, and
it really depends on where it goes.
And nowadays, all the medicine has actually shown that, especially with somebody with a suspected stroke, keep the pressure up. That's what's perfusing their brain.
Right.
You don't want to drop the pressure.
And we've talked about it. Right.
So I've called for orders myself, and actually ended up having way too long of a conversation with this one doctor who just loved to teach. Apparently, I think
not the time, doc. I'll talk to you when I get there.
I got the attending that day. You know what I mean? Because he's like teaching. Well, there were 15 studies done, and I'm like, just tell me what you want, man. But no, it was really cool. We were back and forth, and he was talking about all the physiology behind their reasoning why he didn't want me to do anything as far as touching this person's blood pressure at the time. But I mean that seems to be the new, well, not new, but the more modern medical approach is if they're perfusing, if everything is cool,
just let it ride.
Let it ride till we get to the hospital.
Right, and they can fix. They're gonna fix that stuff there. Once they get a CT, see what they're looking at, do this, is it a bleed? Is it a blockage? Whatever, and they're going to follow those types of protocols. But you're more or less looking to make sure that you're still perfusing the noodle. That's why blood pressure goes sky high. Yeah. Because you have so much pressure inside the actual brain that you need to increase the pressure just to get it up there. Yep. And then it's a revolving door, which sucks because as you increase the pressure, you increase the pressure inside the head, which then needs to increase the pressure even more. Right. And then it just keeps climbing the ladder.
Until something bad happens.
Right.
Yeah. So, fluid is hung, KVO, just little drip. Medic then makes the phone call, calls med control, and requests 5 milligrams metoprolol, advises that patient is already taking metoprolol.
Yep.
So he's already prescribed it. This isn't, just out of the blue, I'm going to give him a beta blocker.
Right.
So it's already in the system. And the doctor actually agrees and says, okay, you can give him 5 milligrams Q15.
Okay.
So he gets orders really for 10.
Right. 10
in total.
And you said his heart rate was around 100.
Yeah, about 99,
so, again, I'm not worried about
at
that.
The border.
How's his mental status at this point?
Apparently, from what they said, it's the mental status is fine. It was the
it was just the deficits.
The deficits, some difficulty speaking.
Okay.
I'm guessing he meant like slurring. He just had difficulty speaking.
Okay.
So, in no way were they like, was he gorked or anything?
Right. He wasn't, responsive to verbal or whatever. Right.
They called out his name.
And they're trying to
said,
wake
I'm
him
back
up.
Here. They said, let's go. And he got up and walked out. So, although I'm thinking of it, maybe it should have been.
And that's
if he's kind of walking out with a clue, like sliding with the right foot, it might have been a clue, Either walking like Igor.
Don't worry, I'll make it.
Walk this way.
Werewolf.
For all you young Frankenstein fans out there. You just got their wolf, their castle. All right, I just showed my age again.
You do that a lot.
I know. Can't help it. All right, so metoprolol is drawn up, 5 milligrams, administered IV push. Sound good?
I'm okay with it.
Anything else you want to do?
At this point, it's a stroke. You're going to monitor ABCs and monitor for changes in neuro.
Okay.
So unless I have to prepare to, spontaneously RSI this guy, I'm okay where we're sitting.
Monitoring, does he have end title, all that fun stuff on?
No end title, just the 12 lead is kept on, and just monitoring, cardiac monitor, and
SpO2,
SpO2, that kind of, yeah, it's all
blood
good
pressure.
to go. I didn't even
yeah.
bother mentioning it because it was, still like, 98, 90%, 99%. So
Yeah, because your end title can show you,
Everything.
in your bleeds, you want to keep it around 30 and not 35 to
Right.
keep the, Yeah, okay.
But anything else? No.
I'm okay.
Just monitoring all the way to the hospital.
I'm okay right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this medic decides he's not just going to monitor all the way to the hospital. He's also going to administer 50 micrograms of fentanyl, IV push for the headache, 10 on 10 pain.
Okay. I mean,
Ooh, that is an awkward silence.
I'm torn on that one.
Okay.
I'm torn.
Why are we torn?
So I can honestly say I've never given pain management to a stroke patient.
Okay.
Not saying I wouldn't. I just never have had the opportunity to go down that road. So one thing that we do very well is take away pain.
Yep.
One thing that we don't do at all is take away pain appropriately.
Right.
We never do it when we should. We do it in wrong doses. We use wrong meds. And we let people suffer a lot as an industry. Not just single providers, but as an industry.
Yeah, I mean, underdosing is a big thing, and even in the hospitals, yeah.
Right. So I like where this thought process is going. Is the fentanyl going to do anything for that because of the cause? Right?
Right.
That's what I'm looking at.
Because
So
this pain is not coming from
your pain receptor. It's coming from the pressure.
Right.
And unless you alleviate the pressure, that fentanyl's not going to do anything. If anything, it might increase ICP.
Right.
There are studies out there that show fentanyl does increase intracranial pressure. So now you're causing more pressure, which then increases pain. I don't know if I would have pulled that trigger.
And you maybe morphine, but then morphine you're looking at the whole
Dropping the BP even further.
Right. And now
More than
you're
you want.
now you're losing perfusion.
perfusion, and
This
also
is-
increasing the oxygen drive on the brain, causing more.
Right. So
know.
now you're exacerbating the issue.
Right. I mean,
This
again,
sounds like a job for ketamine.
yeah, but even then, I
no,
would
no, I know.
the ICP
because you're
Right, the
increasing
ICP,
right.
exactly.
And again, this is why I've never even considered like, I'm thunderclap headache, whatever, brain bleed.
Yeah.
I've never even thought like, hey, I should probably give some pain management for this.
I mean,
But
it's a 40-minute ride, and this guy is hurting.
This brings
know?
up a really good talking point. Like, I'm curious to see what other people would think about this kind of topic.
Yeah,
Solely
do a good one for
because it's like,
Facebook or something. Yeah.
right, because again, there's so many variables that come into play. Me personally, I don't think that I would have pulled that trigger. I probably would have just sat on my hands. If anything, if I really wanted to go down that route, or say I was the second medic on this, and that medic's like, yeah, I want to do this, I'd be like, why don't we call somebody first?
Yeah.
That's a phone call. Hey doc, this is what we're kind of thinking. He's really in pain. This is what I carry. What do you think? Even maybe they give you half a dose.
Yeah.
Or a weight-based dose up to X. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and the other thing I was going to point out also, and it kind of occurred to me just sitting here listening to it, is, go back to the very beginning of, what these guys, think of this person to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And to now, I mean, like,
Show some care.
treating them like, even trying to treat their pain.
Right.
And just completely, 180 from the, go fuck yourself attitude to the, I'm going to do my best for this guy.
Right.
And that's kind of cool.
But I mean, kudos. I have to give kudos where it is. Kudos to this medic, again, because they're thinking this dude's in pain. He's suffering.
Right.
I can fix that, I got to give him kudos for even trying to think that line of thought.
Yeah, and I would agree. So, rolling along, after the fentanyl, vitals are retaken, probably another 10 minutes, I would assume, whatever the cycle is on the machine. And they come back 185 over 100, heart rate of 98. Patient still complaining of the headache. So at the Q15 mark, medic gives another 5 milligram dose of metoprolol IV push.
And we don't know, sorry to barge in here. We don't know whether the doc they said, Q15.
As long as it's above or below something.
Right.
Systolic,
Did they give a...
I wasn't given, all I was given was, 5 Q15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I've gotten them that way.
Yeah.
Where they
don't give
5
you
Q15. Okay.
Yeah.
So if they drop to like 110, just go ahead and push it anyway, right?
Because at 185, I'd be happy.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't even do the second
with
dosing.
The only thing that I would maybe not be okay with is the fact that, the headache is still persistent at the same level.
Right.
Even with the reduced systolic pressure.
Yep.
Maybe that's a reason for me to say, okay, you know what, I've got the orders in hand. Let's just go and do it. And I was going to say, like, this might be one of these doctors where they actually trust our judgment. And why he just said Q15, and you know what to do.
Right.
Which is what I would really like to see more of.
That'd be cool.
I mean, I'm a little biased, but yeah. Be nice, Don't teach me how to tie my shoes. I know. It's okay. So back to the cheat sheet. So we've got vitals at 185 over 100, heart rate of 98. Second dose is administered. And basically monitoring the rest of the way to the hospital. Nothing else to do. Agreement. Nothing really more to do.
Yeah, just monitor, assess.
Yep.
Make sure everything stays.
Yeah. I'm looking at mental status and ABCs at that point because that's really all that's going to change. I want to see my neuros. Right. Have they changed? Right. Typically, anytime on a stroke patient, anytime that my blood pressure cuff re-goes for, redoing vitals, I do another neuro.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. So 5 minutes from the hospital, another 50 micrograms of fentanyl is administered.
Okay.
IV push. Radio report is given, and they arrive at the hospital. Upon arrival, while the EMT is getting, backing in and getting out, the medic does perform a second Cincinnati. Everything's still same, and a second 12 lead is performed.
Okay.
Make sure there's no changes there. After that, they're offloaded, and of course, taken right to CT.
Yep.
To which a large occlusion is found. Shocker.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Right. Hey.
What?
What?
And I actually have the patient was treated and recovered with minor deficits remaining, for the rest of his life, I'm sure.
Yep.
But nothing debilitating.
Nothing.
He's still able to live his life and all that good stuff. And he did return. And from what I was told, went back to the same old 3 days a week thing. So he went right back to business. So
I took my vacation and we're good.
Right. So all in all, I mean, a very straightforward kind of call when you really just take it in totality. It's, A plus B equals C, and then we get to the hospital.
Right.
I think, what do you think of the entirety, from start to finish, where we started, where we ended up, lessons that needed to be learned, things that maybe, could have been done a little better,
I think it all starts in the beginning.
You're walking into your frequent flyer and you think this person is the type of person, and now you're treating him like an actual human being, not
right. And one of the things that came to mind through this whole thing, especially after you said the kind of change in mindset and care of this individual, and we touched on it a little bit before, is there's always, we always make the joke. The frequent flyers will call for the same thing, and you got to do the same thing until the one day you don't, and that's the day they're going to be dead.
Right. It's the biggest cliche in the business.
Right. And we all make fun of it. We roll our eyes.
Right.
But it really is it's the fact of
it's the truth.
It is fact and truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a frequent flyer that I took care of all the time in the one city, and he always called chest pain, every single day, chest pain. And you'd get him 4, sometimes 5 times a week.
We had the one in the place we worked at.
You know, and
you could set your watch by it. Be like, oh, he's coming back from XYZ, and you could tell who it was looking at your watch. Yep,
right.
This is who it is.
And when you pick him up, no IV today? Nope, no IV. Okay, off we go.
Right. and there, this guy had his things. He was allergic to, like, you'd say, he'd be like, oh, I'm short of breath. Okay, let me put you on oxygen. Oh, I'm allergic to the tubing.
Right.
No,
Oh,
he'd
the
say
tubing.
the tubing.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm not allergic to Dilaudid.
Right. But, and every single time, it would, and I was an EMT at the time when I was working in this system, and the medics would go in, and every single time they do their 12 lead, and this was again one of those where the hospital was only about 7 minutes away, and
you're gonna spend more time doing your due diligence than you could have just got rid of them and been back in service.
And everything was always normal.
Yep.
And then one day there was a paramedic who didn't do the 12 lead and sent it off BLS, and then he ended up having an MI in the hospital.
Shit.
And then they ended up carting him up to a different center, and it's just like that actually happens. He made it, he survived, no ill effects, but even still, like, we all have these things. So that's why I kind of say, like, no matter what, a frequent flyer, Emily would say this. I'm sure Kelly is saying this right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Kelly was nodding the whole time. She's like, yep.
Yeah. And I'm sure that she's going to...
That's right, Gerard.
I'm sure she's going to agree. Is that you still have to treat your patient as a human being.
Yeah.
Right? Whether they're, have a bad history, whether they're from a prison and, they're in there for a quadruple homicide or whatever... Right. They're still a human at the end of the day. And honestly, our job is not to judge them as a human. It's the same argument as, oh, well, there's providers out there that are going to refuse to give Narcan to the heroin addict because they've overdosed 17 times since last Tuesday. I mean, no, that's not our job.
Yeah, that I don't agree with. But
the opinions are out there.
Right. But in the same respect, though, we're also human.
Yep.
So it's a human thing to hear or know what someone has done, like something horrific like that.
Yep.
And just
and be judgmental.
And despise their fucking existence.
Yep.
But yeah, at some point there has to be that crossover to professionalism, and realize it's it's not the person, it's the rank. It's they're a patient, nothing more, nothing less.
Right. That's it.
That's it. I'm not here for anything more than that.
Right.
And
you can hate them all you want. Yeah. That should never come into providing care and being professional.
Right. Like the same
after the fact, you can badmouth them all they want.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah, like triaging, freaking gunshot wounds. You have a cop down, you have the perpetrator down.
Right.
Perpetrator's in worse shape. I'm working on the perpetrator.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It should never matter. And you bring up the great point in that we're all human and it will matter.
Right.
But we all have to be better than that.
Yeah. You have to
because
recognize that you're doing
to be better than
right. Recognize that you're okay. This is how I want to feel right now. It's almost like George Costanza. Do the opposite. Right. For the Seinfeld fans out there. Yeah. I mean, you go in and you're like, God, I want to tear this guy a new fucking asshole. Okay, I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna sew his
Stick it in his
shut. Mouth. But no, I'm not gonna treat him like that. I'm gonna treat him like I would, grandma down the street.
Right.
And I'll do my due diligence, do what I gotta do, write my chart, get him out of my freaking hair, and I can go hate him later.
Right. And that's ultimately what we should be doing on every frequent flyer.
Yeah.
No matter what their history.
There's frequent flyers that you just love.
Mm-hmm. There are.
They're just pleasant people, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna go see that person again. Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Then there's the ones that that
somebody's vibrator just went off.
Holy
Kelly.
Kelly,
Damn it, Kelly.
I told you not to bring that
Yeah,
with
those
you.
frequent flyers you show up to and you're like, you know, I want to be nice
Damn,
to
that's
this
a
guy
big one.
because,
Sorry.
someday he may be up on a water tower or something there, you know.
Right, yeah. You don't need that. You need that on your fucking conscience.
You're like, hey, how you doing today? Yeah,
Right.
secret. You're my best friend ever. You
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely think, you know, as a whole, the call overall did not, it went fine.
Yeah.
Right?
I
There's
think
no,
it
there's
definitely
no,
started off shitty,
there's no, right.
like complete garbage.
Yes.
Yeah.
In talking about the professionalism and, you know, the kind of way that everybody conducted themselves in the beginning, it was not
Nothing to be
not
proud
the
of.
shining star moment for either provider.
Right.
But the fact that the medic was able to sit there and go, okay, from a medical standpoint, this is not normal.
Right.
And then flip gears. You got to give that medic props for that.
Yeah.
Because then they took it seriously. Like, hey,
Yeah.
there's an actual medical thing going on here. And you know what? And that's the thing. Like, this individual's complaining of headache every single time that they've been there. Say for 1, 2, 5, 10 years. Right? We all know it's not a stroke every single time.
Right.
But what if it was something minor?
Leading up to something
Leading
major.
up to something major.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows?
And I was going to also say, I mean, you know, yeah, the medic did his job. Everything was great. You know, he saved it. But honestly, the major freaking dittos should go to the EMT. Because the EMT didn't
We've
just
got a badass over here.
the EMT didn't just get in the back, push the button, and say, "Let's go,"
Yeah.
and then not. That's the okay. Just write it down, and then come up with vitals of the day for the second set because you're too close to get a second set.
That's totally what we do.
And and that's it, and that's the end of it. And that would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Because that guy would have probably,
Well, because then just think about this
really
too.
stroked out right there.
Well, and think about the other side of the coin, right? We see frequent flyers, but now what about the hospitals?
Oh yeah.
Right? The hospitals
He's the
see
bane of their existence.
our frequent flyers.
The looks on their face when they would bring this person in they were like, this everyone hated this guy.
and
Yeah.
that's it,
Yeah.
So you're thinking our opinions of our frequent flyers,
Yeah.
right? But then think about the hospital's opinion of them as well as they're getting our frequent flyers that we deliver, but then they're also getting the ones that walk in all the time, right? That we don't ever get to see.
Right.
But
Or one of the other agencies in a different district get.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So they're already, it's
All right, this
so-and-so.
fucker again. Yeah.
This guy was just here. Let me go get him his turkey sandwich, and he'll be out of my
Right.
hair in 8 minutes.
Here's
Right?
bring the AMA paperwork with the sandwich.
Right.
Yeah, because you know it's coming.
because you know it's coming.
Right.
You've dealt with them 100 times.
Right.
Right? So imagine what would have happened if this crew,
That EMT.
that EMT did not do that,
Right.
took them to the critical access center. They were like, yep, it's
Whatever.
it's Ron again.
Yeah, here's your sandwich. Shut up.
Right.
Yeah.
The hospital goes, oh, look, it's Ron again.
Right.
Right. They register him, whatever.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, you got a headache? That's what he always complains
Right.
about, Doc.
Yeah.
Right.
Hour later,
he just
hey,
wants,
why is he dead?
why is he unresponsive with his tongue drooling?
Right.
Like, we don't know, know? So, yeah. And who knows? That might not have happened. But you got to give props to the EMT for being like, this isn't normal
Yeah.
either.
And of course, knowing your frequent flyer,
Right.
knowing, hey, this isn't his normal. There's
Right.
something wrong here. To say, hey, hold on, dude. Here's what I just got. I mean, granted, check it again, check the other arm. You got to roll the dice sometimes, but yeah, but no,
So now here's
I
the
get
question,
it.
though. Now, if he had taken the blood pressure on the other arm and it came up normal-ish,
That might be an indication of something really bad.
Yeah, right.
What would he have done? Would he have been like, all right, we're good. Let's just go to,
I would hope not. I would hope that they would recognize that that's a big fucking problem.
No. We're completely fucked.
We're completely fucked.
That's when you hit the other button.
Right, well,
Yeah.
now I'm on way too many buttons here, and
Get to the chopper!
That's the one.
I'm just saying, would the medic have been like, oh, yeah, we're good now. We'll just go to...
Right? Yeah. I don't
imagine
know.
that.
You know?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
You know, and these are, again, things that, looking at it from our perspective on the show, we'll never know, you know,
Yeah.
but it's, you think about the human factor of our jobs, right? We all are human and we all make decisions based off of information that we have in front of us. And yeah, with the way that the initial call was going, if they had been like, oh yeah, or even say they were using a regular cuff and then they went to a bigger cuff and it came
Right.
back normal or something.
Right. Or
You
they
know?
manipulated it to get what they wanted.
Right. And up, yep. Hey, yeah, it's 160 over
Yeah, there you
90.
go.
That's about normal. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's 11 o'clock, midnight. I really want to go back to bed.
Right.
You know, just
You
drop 'em
know?
off here.
And again, not to bash these providers, but it's places that all of us have been in. It's all something that we've thought about,
Yep.
and we have to be big enough to be like, we're not that
Yeah.
terrible.
Not gonna be that way.
We're not going to be that way.
And if you have been that way, don't be that way anymore.
Right.
You know.
Use this as a lesson.
Yeah. Make this. If you're listening to this and you're one of these guys, yeah, fuck that motherfucker. Stop a second and think about it. You know what? Because that motherfucker's gonna fuck you one day. He's gonna bend you right over and give it to you.
And I think
You know?
we've all had that call. Like after the call, you think to yourself, God, could I have done this, or could I have done that? Could I, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
that one thing, you know, if I had done this differently.
Right.
And I would
could it have
hope
worked
that
out
that
better?
if this went south, those providers would have done that instead of doing like, oh well, he deserved it,
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
just this
Got what
piece
he
of
wanted.
shit, you know.
Yeah.
you know, or got what's coming to him.
Yeah. No. I
Again.
got you. I mean, it you know, it. Yeah, I've had them where it's, you know, they've been just horrible human beings, and you know, things may not have, you know, worked out right, you know, for them at the end, and you know, and I'm, you know, personally, and I've gone back and, yeah, the first thought in my head isn't, I'm glad they're fucking gone.
Right.
It's, God, what else could I have done?
Yeah.
I wish I could have done something else. You know, I feel horrible. And then maybe like a day or two later, I'm like, hey, ding dong, that motherfucker's dead. You know, but you know, but no, my initial thing is usually self introspection. I'll sit there and really beat up on myself and think about it and try and figure shit out. And you know, what could I have done that was better?
Yep.
You know,
And you have to.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we grow as providers. You know, and I think it comes down to, you know, a running quote from Emily: "Do better."
Yeah.
You know, again, we're all human. We all have pasts that sometimes are not pleasant. Doesn't mean that somehow you're a less of a human being.
Right.
You know, and at least from our eyes, from a medical standpoint, it shouldn't matter.
Right.
You know, anything else for you guys?
I'm
I think
as,
that
as
was
the presenter, I'm good.
You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add. So
Kelly, subject. None. All right.
no, not even Kelly says anything.
How you doing?
Tone down that vibrator, Kelly. So we hope to see everybody.
It was quite aggressive.
It was
It
very
was.
aggressive. I don't know. That's for her to decide.
Different strokes for different folks. They can't see hand gestures.
No, they
No,
can't.
they
I know.
can't,
That
but
was
we
for us.
can.
That was for us.
Yes.
So, guys, join us on Patreon if you can. Again, you can listen to the third episode that we record every single month on Patreon. It comes out on the 23rd of every single month. We are going to record the 13th Patreon episode this month. Yep.
Wow.
Exactly. It's been over a year
now.
for Patreon.
Jesus.
And the Patreon,
Congrats.
you know, group
shit.
has been growing. So
Yeah,
again, thank
that's
you,
really cool.
thank you, Mike, for the new subscription.
And John the last time, yeah.
And John the last time, and we're gonna continue to do Patreon again. We typically will save the most bizarro calls for Patreon.
Yeah, those are the fun
because
ones.
because we're, you know, it's more of a unrated
Yeah, we can't get away with half that shit in the public.
We tone down a lot of what we say on the free episodes.
So now
even though we can't.
I was gonna say, now let that sink in.
I know, right?
With what you just hear, you know what I mean? What you hear out of us on the public stuff. Now think about that.
Right now, right. Some people would be like, "That's too NC-17 for me."
People start running to church,
or
bathing in holy water,
or do they listen to it at church?
Oh, that's evil. I want to meet them people.
I want to have them people on.
Yeah, those are my people.
Right? But yeah, so go and enjoy yourself a frothy, stone cold Steve Austin
Broken Skull
IPA.
Ka-ching, thank
and
you.
Hopefully we'll get sponsored. I know you did.
I did send a message to his booking agent.
Yeah.
Whether or not they pay attention to that kind of
Stone Cold.
lowly ass shit. Hashtag Stone Cold Medic Materials.
There you go. Yep, we love it. Make it trend,
Make it
people.
happen.
All right, stay safe. Take care, everyone.
Donuts, Austin 316.
What?
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you'd like more information on the podcast or to send us a call to review, visit medicmaterials.com/podcast. To learn more information, like us on Facebook at Medic Materials EDU, or watch our weekly instructional videos on the Medic Materials YouTube channel.